Alright, hey there everybody. Today for our carry of the week, we are going to do a torso style carry with a mid-size or short woven wrap. I have a mid-size. This is a size 4, which is a base -2 for me. So what I'm going to do is the double hammock variation. Um, Sorry, baby's fussy. So what I'm going to do first is find my middle marker, and I'm going to start about a foot or so off, and I'm going to put that up onto the middle of her back. Alright, so you can see how I have that up around the middle of her back. And what I'm going to do next, I've got it kind of propped up on my leg right here, is I am going to cross arm toss or Superman toss her up over my back. So to do that, I'm just going to cross the top of the wrap. Okay, I'm just going to cross the wrap up over her shoulders like a Superman cape. And I'm going to hold one hand. I'm going to take my thumb and kind of hook the wrap with one hand or one thumb finger, and take the other part of my hand and kind of cup over her shoulder. And then on the other side, I'm going to do pretty much the exact opposite of that. So I'm going to take my hand underneath, hook the thumb on the top, so you can see how I have it up kind of opposite. And then I'm going to make sure I'm grabbing her by her whole sort of ball sockets of the shoulder. And then I'm just going to cross her over in a row and lift her up onto my back. And once she's up onto my back, you can see I started off with her pretty high, but we're going to drop her down in just a minute. So I'm going to then just gather up my top rails here, and I'm going to pin them down and then make the seat. And notice when I'm pinning the top rails down and making the seat, I'm leaving the bottom part of the rail loose and hanging, because it's going to make it a lot easier to make that seat. So to do that, I have the rails pinned under my chin. You can pin them in your teeth too, if that works better for you, whatever kind of works. And I am going to then go over her body and pull this part of the wrap as far out and down as I can. So just like this. And then I'm going to go underneath her body, and I'm going to flip that up and underneath between our two bodies. So once I have that done, you can see how it cups all the way up to her knees. I'm going to gather up this one tail and just kind of tuck it under my knees for a minute, or between my legs. And so I can go around and show you a little bit better. So you can see how that wrap tucks up under the seat and supports all the way knee to knee. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold tension on both of the rails itself, and I'm going to stand straight up. And what that's going to do is it's going to enable her to kind of settle down into the wrap. I'm going to loosen this just a tiny bit so that way I can bump her down just a little bit. So the torso carry, they're going to sit just a little bit lower, more almost kind of in the small of your back. So the shorter tail that I have, I'm going to keep tucked between my legs, and I'm going to work on a little bit of strand by strand tightening. So once I get to about where the bottom portion of that wrap comes in, I'm going to not pull quite so tight because I don't want to pop that seat out. So a little bit of strand by strand on each side. I'm going to tuck this rail in, take my shorter side, and do a little bit of strand by strand as well. Tightening is really key in a good torso carry. So I'm going to tuck that side again, and now I'm going to take this side, I'm going to drop it underneath my arm, and I'm going to pass it underneath the side over here, keeping a lot of good tension on it between my legs. And I'm going to spread that sort of over my chest. And then I'm going to pass it around behind to my other hand. And I'm just going to kind of pop it up and over baby's back. And pull to tighten. So again, we're going to be doing a lot of tightening here. So you can go ahead and drop it down under your arm. Follow that top rail. So top rail, pull and tighten. Middle portion, pull and tighten. So just pull, pull, tighten. Make sure everything is tightened up. All right, so from here, I'm going to do another little bounce with that other side.
keep the tension, drop it underneath my arm. Lots of pulling and tightening. And I am just going to tie off right over my chest. Tying off over the chest kind of helps to keep the support up and a little bit higher. So one knot and second knot and they'll have a nice and secure torso carry with a woven mid-size. If you want to as well, if you have enough tails, you can also go through and really you have a few different options. You can do sort of a Lexi twist down and around if you want, and then you can kind of come through, tie. If you're using the longer rope, this one isn't quite long enough for that, but you can do a few more twists and then tie underneath their bottom, which looks really pretty. If you don't have, or you can go over and under the legs. I have enough, just enough to go a little bit of a tie off. So you can do a tie off like that and just go underneath their legs, which a lot of people like to add that extra sort of seat popping support. So you can do that. You can just kind of take your rails and do some rolling and tucking, and then you'll tuck it all the way down into this other side of the fabric if you want to do it that way. It's a little bit more difficult until you kind of get the hang of it, because you got to kind of work it into those side fabrics. So I'm not going to go all the way through because it'll take a few minutes to get it all nice and tucked out. But like I said, you can just kind of do a crossover and go back and under the bottom as well if you have enough wrap. But because mine's not quite long enough for most of that, I'm just gonna retighten up and keep my tie off right here. So there you have a fairly easy, lots of tightening though. Tightening is important. Torso carry. And you can see how she sits much lower, where she's basically, like I said, sitting kind of in the small of my back is really where you want them to sort of be sitting. So the key points are really keeping that top rail nice and secure and snug. And then, I mean, she can't really lean out or anything either. So, all right, thanks guys.
Now I want to say happy Halloween.